Chiefs Kingdom, we got a packed show for you here on the Chiefs Report. Thanks for watching. I'm your host, Jay Sanders. And could the Chiefs starting left tackle from this past year be leaving? Well, he hinted at that on social media. We talk about the latest with Donovan Smith, along with, is it reunion time in Kansas City? We're going to talk about 4 former Chiefs players that I could see the Kansas City Chiefs possibly signing, and Brett Veach giving a second chance to these 4 guys. We'll tell you who those 4 guys are. Hint, hint, it's shark time in Kansas City. The real ones now. Make sure you're staying up to date on all the latest in the Kansas City Chiefs news, rumors, memes, whatever you like. I got it covered with Kansas City content. Follow me on Twitter, @JaceAndrews_. I'm putting out tweets left and right, and it's going to be a fun time, so give me a follow. I'll tell you what, the next 10 people who follow me after this show is out, I'm going to follow you right back. And speaking of Twitter, that's where we start this show, because it was Quandre Diggs who tweeted out this after he was cut by the Seattle Seahawks. Said, "Got fired on my day off, damn," which is objectively an absolutely hilarious tweet. Shout out to Quandre Diggs. That's not the important part of it. That doesn't relate to the Chiefs at all. But a comment on it does, because Donovan Smith said this, "What's up? Where are we going?" Now, this conversation continued on Twitter to the point where Quandre actually said back, "Man, you're a 2-time Super Bowl champion. Where are we going? I'm trying to look to get my first." Now, you can take this one of 2 ways. You can take this as Donovan Smith is leaving the Chiefs because, well, he said, "What's up, where are we going?" And it seems as though the Chiefs are not going to sign him for $2.19 million when they have other people back there. Or you could take it as maybe Quandre Diggs has come into play for the Kansas City Chiefs. Have to think it's the first one, but still, the reasoning behind it is because I do not think Donovan Smith will be re-signed by the Kansas City Chiefs. $2.19 million is just too steep a price for a guy whose stats, well, were less than impressive. He had a 55.4 overall PFF grade. He only allowed 2 sacks because, well, honestly, you have Patrick Mahomes behind you and an offensive line who was top 5 in the NFL this past year. Allowed 7 hits, 33 hurries, and he was also up there with Jawan Taylor in terms of penalties. He had 9, so nowhere close to Jawan's level, but still a decent amount. But I think I say all this to come back to the main point. He's just not worth the money. Now, why? I know $2 million doesn't seem like a lot. When you're trying to re-sign Chris Jones, when you're trying to re-sign Drue Tranquill, when you're trying to get back Mike Edwards, when you're potentially going to have to pay Sneed if you keep him, it's just not going to work. Plus, you drafted for this in 2023. You drafted the tackle Wanya Morris out of Oklahoma, and he had some time when Donovan Smith was hurt in this year. He played pretty well. 8 games, only allowed 2 sacks. He had some struggles, I'm not going to lie, but at the same time, if you're looking at a rookie, this was a pretty good stat line for him to have, especially just being like thrown into the fire with his first game being that Packers game where he honestly played pretty well. Now, the offensive line has played great all year, and I think that you can probably just throw Wanya Morris into there, and in 2024, you'll be A-okay. That's just my opinion, though. We'll have to see. All right, let's get into some Kansas City reunions because I think there's 4 guys that the Chiefs honestly should sign to help out their depth problems in 2024. That would be relatively cheap and would be guys that would come back and already know the system. The first one, you see him, you know him, you love him. We talked about him. It's Justin Houston, the edge rusher. And honestly, he has had some amazing career. Over 500 tackles in 170 games, 112 sacks. He's hit the QB 185 times, and he has 132 tackles for loss. Now, we've talked about Houston on this show before because, well, he was cut before the playoffs. And so they could have brought him back for the playoff run, but they did not, just like a lot of other people they could have brought back, which we will talk about in a couple moments. But the reason behind it being Justin Houston as the number 1 target and why I think he could potentially be one that they sign, the edge rushers are just going to be a little tough this year. Why? Because you have George Karlaftis. He's the main edge rusher. He was the starter. He's going to be in his 3rd year. You got him. Purdue Boilermaker. He'll be great. Felix Anudike-Uzomah, first-round draft pick, has no experience, though. He was never a starter this past year. Now, B.J. Thompson and Malik Herring had their times where they came in and played, but I would like some more depth pieces because, guess what? Michael Dana, you don't have. He's not going to be there anymore, and he was your starting on the right edge. Now, you had Charles Omenihu, but obviously he is going to be injured with that torn ACL and probably will not play until the mid-season area at best, is kind of my opinion. The second guy is where I know y'all are all going to go crazy, and it's Frank Clark, because we continue to talk about him on the show because I honestly don't know what happened. This guy was going to sign with the Chiefs. He said, I land on Friday, I'm going to have my physical, and then he just didn't sign. He went to the Seahawks. And then he got cut again. I don't know what to tell you, man, but everybody all knows the playoff shark and what he did for the Kansas City Chiefs in his 12 playoff games. 10.5 sacks is insane in that time period. 1 fumble recovery, 93 sack yards, and 32 tackles for loss. This guy was, in short, a menace in the postseason. And honestly, given he's also an edge rusher, it fits the bill. Just like I said with Houston, you kind of need somebody to help fill this depth until Omenihu can return. Guess what? Frank Clark can do exactly that. And just like Houston, he already knows the system. Would you like the Chiefs to bring Frank Clark back in 2024? Get in the comment section and let me know. Type Y for yes or type in for no. I'm curious to see what you think. Frank Clark coming back to KC? Get in the comment section and let me know. You can also get in the comment section and find a 40% off Chiefs polo by clicking on the link there, chatsports.com/KCPolo. It'll be in the comments. It'll probably be in the description as well, so you can go find that there. 40% off something you can wear to work, something you can wear to a nice dinner, something you can wear to a bunch of different places. And I hope that you're able to do it because, listen, I don't know about you, but if you're going to go to church on Sunday, if you're going to go to something in the morning on Sunday, you're going to brunch on Sunday with your wife, and you want to make sure to rep your team before the game, well, guess what? Bang! You got your KC Polo. Go put it on there, chatsports.com/KC Polo for 40% off. I'm telling you, this deal's not going to last long. Go down, go get it right now. It's sweet. I'm telling you, it feels nice as well. Let's go to our third guy that could be potentially returning to Kansas City. And this is one that probably most people don't recognize off the bat. Rashad Fenton. Now, Rashad, in terms of what he brings to this team, would be depth. And again, being at the cornerback slot, just like I said in a previous video, this should only happen if L'Jarius Sneed is in fact traded. Now, Joe Summers actually also talked about Fenton potentially returning to Kansas City. And he said this. He had 20 deflected passes in parts of 4 seasons in Kansas City, particularly shining in his career when he allowed just a 57.7 passer rating when it's targeted in his rookie campaign. Fenton has valued on special teams as well. He has played under Dave Toub, and he played 323 special team snaps. So he got familiarity with both major units that he rejoined. This is a much better defense than the one he initially played on, too, and I expect less pressure would let Fenton regen the rookie year for him he provided, and the injury doesn't linger. Joe Summers there of KC Kingdom kind of coming in with that. It's a depth piece. That's what it is. I know, but I think at this point, given the Chiefs just won back-to-back Super Bowls, you're trying to make sure that this team is set up for success in whatever way possible, and right now that unfortunately means depth. I don't know if that means unfortunately. That's probably not the right term to use because obviously, depth is good, but at the same time, it's not a flashy move. It's not something that's going to be like, oh, wow, the Chiefs did that. No, but it's going to help them in the long run, and that's exactly what Rashad Fenton would do, and he already knows the defense. I think that's the main kind of thing that I'm looking at with all 4 of these guys. They know the defense. They know what to do, and they know what would happen and what they would be asked upon by Coach Spags. You heard me say defense. The 4th one, it's also defense. It's Carlos Dunlap, and Dunlap, to me, in some ways, is the best option, but I also could see him potentially not being the right fit. Once again, you're looking for help on the edge. You have Karlaftis, but past that, there is not a certified starter, and I know that Felix Anudike-Uzomah could become that, and maybe it's time to just throw him out in the fire and let him play and see what happens, but I would rather have somebody below him that's not B.J. Thompson or Malik Herring, just somebody who has known the defense and has had success and in some ways could help teach the young guy. Because obviously Omenihu will be around the team. He'll be able to teach him. But I want somebody who can be out there and play with him with Karlaftis whenever he's tired. Just, again, rotating these guys in and out is going to be so important, especially in the early part of the season when it's hot and you're going to need a lot of water. I need some people in there that I can trust. And unfortunately, with Omenihu out, you got to pick people that you can find and are cheap. Frank Clark and Dunlap are both that. Now, if we look at their time in 2022 when they both were with the Chiefs, they're both pretty solid. 1 forced fumble, and then the big thing, the 8 pass breakups from Dunlap. Now, obviously, you look at Frank Clark and his PFF grade a little bit better. His sacks, 1 more. But once again, You're looking for just things that can help you grow as a team, not just in terms of that position. And 8 pass breakups. You're probably thinking he was playing in 2022 and he had 8 because his arms are insane. They have their own freaking zip code. They are crazy, and they're able to bat down passes every single time one is thrown near him. And honestly, I think that's something that Felix Uduke Uzoma has. He has a very lengthy wingspan. He's able to really move his arms in a positive manner. And I think it'd be nice to have Dunlap there to potentially teach him how to use that. Because although Chris Jones some way does that, Karlaftis as an edge never really did that. Omenihu has somewhat of longer arms, but it'd be nice to have the guy who has really been known for being a pass breakup guy on a line. It's Dunlap. You could have him teach FAU. I want you to pick one of these guys if you just had to pick one to return to Kansas City. And then you get in the comment section and you let me know which one. You type H for Justin Houston. You type F for Rashad Fenton. C for Frank Clark. Or D for Carlos Dunlap. Which guy are you picking out of these 4? There's a lot of good options. I'll tell you which one I want after this. I want to start, before I tell you my pick, that all of these could work in certain scenarios. I think no matter what happens, if Sneed is traded, you could potentially get Fenton. If the edge rushers need some base plants, well, guess what? Frank Clark knows the team and has had a positive light. Carlos Dunlap would be a great teacher for FAU. I think Justin Houston would also be a great teacher. If I'm picking one, though, I'm probably going Frank Clark really closely followed by Dunlap. And the reason I'm going Clark over most of these is because he played last season. I know Houston did too, but he was cut and didn't sign to anybody. Probably going Frank Clark over most of them, but at the same time, as I say, they can all work in certain situations. And Frank, well, I think he just overall fits the bill more than anyone else. He is a guy who has been able to really come on and play a lot of positive manners. And I hope that they choose to sign back one of these guys. Frank Clark, that's my choice. I don't know if they'll do any of these, but if you're watching this, Brett Veach, go get one of them. You need an edge rusher. You may as well sign one of them. At the worst case scenario, they're going to reach you like a league minimum contract. And then if you want, cut him when Omenihu gets back. I don't think they'd have a problem with that. They'd get to play. We appreciate you watching. As always, Chiefs Kingdom, like I said at the beginning of the show, I'm tweeting out a bunch of Chiefs content on my Twitter or on my X, whatever you want to call it. You can follow me right there at JaceAndrews_. Link will probably be in the comments below description if you want to go look for that as well. But just go to X, go to Twitter at JaceAndrews_. I'm putting out a great amount of content. And before you leave, make sure you hit that sub button as well. We really appreciate you hanging out with us, everybody. As always, Chiefs Kingdom, you know it. Peace out.